ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सह भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु वै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So namaste. Welcome everyone. Please, if you are new to the call, please keep your webcams turned on for the entirety of the session, and we'll continue from where we left off. So last week we completed the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. It was a monumental introduction, very comprehensive. We covered so many profound topics in the last, I would say, 26 weeks. And now we just have to continue with the Gita Dhyanam. So, traditionally speaking, the Gita Dhyana shlokas are chanted at the start of every session. Um, though, due to the limitations of time and because we only meet for an hour every week, we have not been putting this into practice. But, during some of the longer Gita home study sessions that people have maybe for an hour and a half or so, it is a good idea to incorporate. So, just a set of thoughts on the Dhyana Shloka before we begin. If you look at our different stotrams, there's this practice of having Dhyana Shlokas. So, Dhyana Shloka, like, for example, if you have the Vishnu Sahasranam, there's a Dhyana Shloka associated with that. Every Devata has a Murti, a Rupam, that one can identify with, that one can associate with. And when one is chanting the names of Bhagavan, let's say 1,000 names of Vishnu in this context, since we're talking about Krishna Bhagavan. So then there's a certain form that is described of this Devata. And it's a beautiful form. There are certain ornaments, there's a certain, mudra, there's a certain, smile on the face, there's a certain hue, a certain, uh, uh, you know, mukut that the person may be wearing. It may be descriptive of the background, lot of things. It just puts you in a very meditative state. And so, like, just taking Vishnu example as a case study, you have the 1,000 names of Vishnu Bhagavan. So someone very nicely described the Sahasranama. There was one question, which is that if ultimately all the names are only pointing to Vishnu, Shri Vishnu Bhagavan, then why do we need 1,000 names? Why not even one name? Well, that's a good argument, and the fact is that even one name suffices. If one truly internalizes the meaning of a single name, that's also enough. But then the more names that you have, it gives you a sort of a three-dimensional view from all angles. You're looking at all facets of this diamond. It's not just a single facet that you're analyzing. And one example that was given was, it's like the pixels in an image. The higher the resolution of the image, the greater are the number of pixels. And so, you can have a very fuzzy image with a few pixels. That way, you can have a fuzzy sense of what Bhagavan stands for with a few names. But if you have 1,000 names, then it gives you a very clear picture. And then, the names are also divided into three broad categories, right? One is something called, related to the avatara. The second is a tatastha lakshana, and the third is a swarupa lakshana. So these are important to note. We know of Bhagavan through the various avatars that Bhagavan has taken. Vishnu has come in the form of Rama, Vishnu has come in the form of Krishna, Vishnu Bhagavan has come in the form of Parshurama also. And then, the prior avatars, Narasimha avatar and other avatars. So through these beautiful tales and exploits of these great, avatars, we know a little something about Bhagavan. And so then there are certain names in the Sahasranama which are in praise of that avatara, such as in praise of Sri Rama, in praise of Narasimha, etc. Then there's a second set of names in the Sahasranama which are Tatastha Lakshana. And this part also is important to understand when it comes to Vedanta. So Tatastha Lakshana, what is a Tatastha Lakshana? Tatastha Lakshana means knowing about something through an incidental attribute that we temporarily use to associate with that thing. Okay, so I'll give a very tangible example. Nikita, you're still in the same place. You're in Trinidad. Are you in Tobago or are you in Trinidad now? You're still in Trinidad, right? Tobago. Okay, so you've moved a little bit. So now suppose you're in Tobago and I'm visiting South America for some reason because it's a nice place. And then I ask Nikita, Nikita, I think I have your address, but my GPS is a bit fuzzy. It doesn't exactly pinpoint your location. I know your street, but I keep going around in circles when I come near your home. I keep missing the exact location. So then you kind of come outdoors, right? And then I'm like, yeah. She's like, can you see me? I'm like, not yet. And so then because I'm on the streets and you're there, and maybe there are a few bends, and so I can't see you. And so then you say, okay, do you see that house with the crow sitting on top? So then I look up. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I see. There's a crow sitting on top, and there's no other house with a crow, because if there are other houses with crows on top, then I can't find it. So there's a single house with a crow sitting on top. And so you're like, yeah, that's mine. Okay, so then I find the crow. I locate your home, and then we meet. So that crow, when I arrive, the crow flies away. Now the next person, the pizza delivery boy, you can't say that, oh, that crow, my house is the one where the crow sits, because now the crow may not be there. So the crow is a tatastha lakshana, which is, it is an attribute that is there which helps identify something, but it is not permanent to the thing that we are trying to identify, if that makes sense. The crow is not a permanent fixture upon your house, but it is something that helps me identify where the house is. So then there are tatastha lakshanas of Bhagavan as well. So what Tatastha Lakshana would be something like Vishwam, right? The whole universe. The first very name of Vishnu Bhagavan, Vishwam, Vishnu Vashatkarha, Bhut, Bhavya, Bhavat Prabhu, and all of these other names continue. So this Vishwam, Shri Vishnave Namaha. So the word Vishwam refers to the entirety of all that there is, the whole entirety of the Jagat, and whatever that one can conceive of, both as a physical object as well as an object of the mind. What is imaginable, what is imagined, and what is also beyond the imagination, all of that put together is all Vishwam. So now, one can say that this is complete. What else could there be? This is all that one requires when one thinks about Bhagavan. But the interesting part here is that even the entire Jagat is similar to the crow in that it is not intrinsic to Bhagwan, the way the crow is not intrinsic to the house. Nikita's house has a crow that is temporarily there, which allows me to identify it. The Jagat is temporarily there, by the grace of which one is able to point to Ishvara as a Jagat Karta, as the one who has manifested the Jagat. But the Jagat itself is not the Swarupa of Bhagwan, it is only incidental to Bhagwan. When the Jagat is manifest, Bhagwan is, but when the Jagat is unmanifest, also Bhagwan is, but all that is there is Bhagwan Swarupa. So that brings us to the third set of names, which refer to the Swarupa, the Swarupa Lakshana. You will hear words such as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. These words are Swarupa Lakshana because they are not incidental to the Vastu. They are the very Vastu, they are the very nature of the thing that one is talking about. And that does not change. The Swarupa of the house is the houseness. The houseness is not going to go away as long as there is something called a house. The Swarupa of the phone, assuming that it is irreducible, is the phoneness. The Swarupa of this thing, Manthan, your favorite, the Swarupa of this toy, and Ambika loves to bring it, is this toyness, whatever it is. Same with the Swarupa of Brahman is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, and Brahma is just another word to indicate that same thing. That's what we are referring to. So these are the three sets of names. And one can do dhyanam upon any of these. You can do dhyanam upon the avatara form, you can do dhyanam upon the tatastha lakshana as Bhagavan, in which case the dhyanam upon the Swarupa is no longer dhyanam, but it is now nididhyasana. Okay. So now we are studying the Gita dhyanam. So coming to the Gita, what does it mean to say that one is doing dhyanam upon the Gita? And that is what we are going to see, because as one studies the Gita, there's a certain immersion that takes place when one contemplates upon these beautiful lokas that are also in Anushtup Chandaha, in the same meter as the rest of the Gita. And they'll put you in a certain mode of respect not only for the text, the Gita, but also for the author of the Gita, and also for the Bhagwan who teaches the Gita. All of these things are praised in this beautiful set of shlokas, which have been composed by one great Advaita Acharya. His name is Sri Madhusudana Saraswati, who had also written a very famous bhashya on the Bhagavad Gita. So, we will proceed with this. So, if somebody would like to volunteer to chant the first Dhyana shloka and then do the reading, please do so. Okay, go for it. Yes, Malaji.
Hari Om.
Hare.
Yeah. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्
Wonderful. And if you'd like
Om,
to continue reading as well,
yes,
um,
an auspicious beginning. Any beginning is considered to be auspicious, since the word Om is the name of Bhagwan, the Lord. It is an auspicious way to begin these verses in which we invoke the Lord's help as we begin our study of the Gita. The Gita invoked as mother. A mother is a simple symbol of love, affection, and spontaneous care. Is someone who always prays for your welfare, who never lets you down when you are in trouble. This is also true of the Vedas because, with great compassion, the Veda takes into account the need for the human being to achieve various things in life and talks about the various means and ends for one to achieve them. And finally, through self knowledge in the Upanishads, gets the person out of the pursuit of means and ends. Therefore, the Veda or the Shruti is given the status of a mother. And because the Gita says exactly what the Vedas say, it is also looked upon as a mother. In this opening verse, the Gita is invoked in this way. O Mother, I invoke you. I meditate upon you again and again as a mother of blessing. For
no
those,
question.
yes,
Should we continue, or any thoughts on all of that we've covered? I forgot to mention. If anyone has questions on this letter selection, Swarup selection, everything we spoke about. If not, then we'll continue. Okay, let's continue.
for whose sake is the Gita taught? The Gita was taught to Arjuna. He is called Partha in this verse because he is the son of Pritha, another name for his mother, Kunti. Because the Gita was taught for Arjuna's sake, Arjuna is said to be its cause Nimitta, the teacher of the Gita. The knowledge contained in the Gita was taught by the Lord Bhagavan Narayana. It was not taught by any other guru but directly by Narayana. Even though every guru is considered to be Narayana, this verse makes it clear that the all knowing Lord Himself, as Krishna, was the teacher of the Gita.
So what this sets is a certain authority also. First of all, the Gita is beautifully invoked as the mother. So the loving, compassionate, giving nature of the mother that is so nurturing that it is able to really solve all of life's crises. I mean, that's what the Gita can do if one has truly um, allowed it to, perform its own transformation on the self. So, the Gita is also praised, but then who is it taught by? First of all, who is it taught to? For the sake of Arjuna. So, Parthaya Pratibodhitam, for Parthaya, for Partha. When you do these mantras also, Ashtotaras and other things, what do you say? You say Om Krishnaya Namah, Om Shivaya Namah, Om this Namah, Om that Aya Namah. That Aya means for. So these are the different, rules, vibhaktis, I believe they're called in Sanskrit, which allow you to say to, from, this, that. It's a very beautiful language. It eliminates a lot of redundancy that we have in other syntactical processes which are inherent to other languages such as English. And the word itself contains all of that essence. So whenever you see like aya, that ending, that means to. So when you say Shivaya Namaha, then what you're saying is I offer unto Shiva, I offer unto Krishna. So now, what is this? Parthaya Pratibodham. So are we doing Namaskaram to Partha? No. The Gita is being offered to Partha because it is for Partha's sake. It is for Arjuna's sake. So that is how the Jnana Shloka begins. Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam. So that is why this Bhagavan Krishna, who himself is Narayana, Vishnu, has taught this Gita, which also implies that there cannot be any defect in the teaching. If I teach, if you teach, somebody teaches, there could be a defect in it. Of course, in the guru, there cannot be a defect because we already spoken about that. But I'm saying that if some person, some Mr. Author from some part of the world wrote something, it can be full of defects. But here it makes it clear also that it's coming from Narayana. Narayanena Swayam. From Narayana Swayam. By Narayana alone, this is taught. And therefore, what can there be in terms of any defect? It cannot be. It's pure, it's clean, it's perfect. Okay, so then we look into the meaning of Narayana if somebody else would like to read.
Yes.
Anyone? You can continue.
The meaning of Narayana. There are many ways of looking at the meaning of the word Narayana, one of which is particularly relevant here. The word Nara is used to refer to a human being. It also means indestructible, that which always remains not destroyed. Na riyate iti naraha. Nara, therefore, can only refer to that which pervades everything and is timeless. Atma in Sanskrit, Atma, here refers to I, the essence of the subject who performs various actions and enjoys various forms of experiences. This is an entirely different meaning from what we commonly understand by the word I. Therefore, the real meaning of the word Nara, human being, is to be understood from the Shastra to be the all pervasive and timeless Atma, Paramatma. Narasya idam naram. That which belongs to the Nara is Nara or Jagat, the world. The world is born out of all pervasive, timeless Paramatma and is sustained by Paramatma and goes back to the Paramatma. Nara, which is the entire world, and Naram eti iti Narayana. The one who knows this Nara, the world, is Narayana, the omniscient Lord Parameshwara. Therefore, the same Atma, the Nara Atma, the human being is the omniscient Paramatma, Parameshwara, the Lord. Because this omniscient Narayana is the one who is teaching Arjuna here, everything that is taught in the Gita is considered valid. Narayana is the one who knows everything and is also the one to be known through Vedanta.
So this is also very interesting, no? Because it is taught by Narayana. And what Bhagavan teaches is also the discovery of Bhagavan through that teaching. Bhagavan is a teacher, and the Bhagavan is the one to be discovered through the teaching also. Beautiful. So, there are so many layers to understanding Ishvara, because then, you know, a- again, like very unique way to teach, where bit by bit you can see that this is all inching towards that vision of Advaita, as Nikita we were speaking about last time, that wholeness, that completeness. It cannot be there if there is a fracture between myself and Bhagwan, and there's something that's dividing us in between. That cannot work out. And so here, Bhagwan is the teacher. Here, Bhagwan is the teaching. Here, Bhagwan is the one to whom it is taught. And here, the thing that is to be discovered is also Bhagwan. And so that is Advaita, because there is no second, there is none other than Ishvara, and that is what's being really hinted at over here. Not explicitly, but it's moving in that direction. Okay, any questions? Good, we can continue.
Vyasa as a reporter. He would How would we know about the Lord's teaching to Arjuna without Vyasa? Any gospel in the report of a disciple, and therefore its accuracy, depends on the disciple. If the disciple is adept, he or she will report properly. If the disciple has limitations, then there will be problems with the report. In the Gita, the reporter is very important. Narayana taught and Arjuna heard, but it was Vyasa who reported it all. The reporter here is not an ordinary person, or we shall see in a later verse, Vyasa is the one who is capable of elaborating a brief statement into 1000 verses, complete with intricate details and cogent arguments. Vyasa is described here as Purana Muni, an ancient sage. A Muni, a Manana Shila, is a person who is capable of bestowing careful thought over a particular subject matter. The word Purana can also mean the ancient legends based on the teaching found in the Vedas. Vyasa gathered these legends together and, remaining faithful to the Vedic vision, put them into writing called Puranas. Therefore, he is referred to a Purana Muni because the subject that is being taught in Gita was so well known to him. Vyasa had no problem with reporting it properly. Where did Vyasa report what was taught by the Lord to Arjuna? He presented in the middle of the epic Mahabharata in the Gita in 18 chapters.
So, when you all were studying in school or college, did you ever come across this idea of a reliable narrator and unreliable narrator? Did you encounter those expressions? So, sometimes if you see movies or if you read books, there's a certain introduction, like you have this broad, wide, widescreen camera lens. And then, you see somebody who's describing what's going on. And this used to happen a lot in older movies. Nowadays, the cinema style has changed a little bit, where you don't have so many narratives, but you used to have this introduction where somebody is talking over the screen, and then slowly you're introduced to all of the characters. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyone seen that happen? Okay. So, in the literature, there's this concept of a reliable narrator and an unreliable narrator. I'm laughing because I remembered one movie of an unreliable narrator. It's amazing. Anyway, um, so there's in the reliable narrator, it's an omniscient view of what's happening. It's almost like Bhagavan is reporting the events, that there cannot be any defect in that narration, because it's like somebody's broken the fourth wall. you know Fourth wall, in the sense that sometimes if you look at the movies, then there are times when, okay, of course, the characters are speaking to each other, but breaking the fourth wall is more like a character becomes very aware that they're being watched, so they're directly addressing the camera, so they're sort of like breaking through the screen. and they are directly addressing you. Then again they go back into the whatever narrative of the movie. So this reliable narrator is somebody who has a complete understanding of exactly what's happening in the movie, and also the fact that all of these events are going to play out in time without any defect in one's understanding. Sometimes an unreliable narrator is also part of literature, where sometimes it could be a movie villain that is there as a narrator, and then you realize that the whole narration was very twisted from their point of view, and so then now you begin to doubt what was said, whether it was true or not. There's another movie where this narrator is the main protagonist who actually has memory loss issues, and so now you can't even rely on the fact that what he's conveyed is true or not. So anyway, it's very interesting. So in the case of Ved Vyasa, first of all, he's a rishi. He's not a simple ordinary guy. He's a Buddhi. He has Brahma Vidya. He has a knowledge of the Shastra. He's a Trikal Jnani. He could see past, present, and future. All of these things. He could even give Sanjaya the ability to be able to first-hand witness the events of the Gita as they unfolded. And then Sanjaya, of course, had to console and communicate these events to Dhritarashtra. That's also very interesting. So Divya Drashti he was given essentially. So then in the case of Ved Vyasa also, now if you have to really think about the Gita, they are the teachings of Krishna Bhagwan. Okay, there's no doubt about that. But at the same time, they are the teachings of Krishna Bhagwan to Arjuna as reported by Ved Vyasa, which became part of the Mahabharata. Just think practically. If you and I are on the battlefield, are we going to have a conversation in poetry? 700 verses of it's unlikely. Okay, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's extremely improbable. So we can assume that it was a basic, straightforward conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, the way anybody would have a straightforward satsanga when you listen to Puja Swamiji or whoever. But Ved Vyasa, without distorting upon any of the meaning, and yet perhaps he may have even elaborated it further and may have added some color and richness to it, and he embedded into the Mahabharata. Now that's beautiful. So some people have used this as an attack on the Gita that, oh, how could this have happened? I'm saying it's beautiful. It's beautiful that a conversation, a simple conversation, of course, a profound conversation, has been turned into something even more profound, and it has a poetic element to it also. Why not? Today, suppose you listen to let's assume that one of us is a jnani, suppose, and we listen to Puja Swamiji's talk, and then we turn that whole teaching, that 1 hour satsang or whatever it is, into a beautiful work of poetry. Why not? It's beautiful. So that is how Ved Vyasa reported the Mahabharata, but he did not distort any of the events. He did not distort, especially the teachings, obviously. And whatever was communicated was done in a very profound and transformative way. So that is the role of Ved Vyasa that he played. That he gave the Mahabharata its crown jewel in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, we love the Mahabharata, but without the Gita, it would be a little incomplete. The whole of Mahabharata holds the Gita on its head like this, and it's further described in this set of Dhyana shlokas also. Okay, any questions on this reporting? Clear? Okay, we can continue.
The subject matter of the Gita. What is the subject matter of Gita? What did Lord Narayana teach Arjuna? What was taught is described as a shower of Amrita, nectar. Nectar generally comes only in drops, but in the Gita, nectar is showered upon us. What kind of nectar is it? All nectars are sweet to the taste, but do not last forever. The nectar that is showered by the Gita is different. Not only does it provide happiness here, but also showers us with the Amrita of Advaita, non duality. Here, the word Amrita is used in the sense of that which gives you immortality. Here, the knowledge frees you from mortality in the form of life and death. In non duality, there is no second thing. Therefore, with this knowledge, all fear is eliminated. Only in duality, can there be fear? Fear cannot exist in non duality because there is no second thing to fear.
That's profound. Almost everything we study is profound, but this is also very profound.
The
Advaita
next,
eliminates fear. Without Advaita, there will always be fear because you can only fear something that is not you. There is a person who's afraid. There is something that's making that person afraid. If that something that's making the person afraid is different from the person who is afraid, then of course the person will be afraid. If I believe that I am fearful that I will lose my wealth, then I see wealth as separate from me. If I believe I'm fearful that I'll lose my relationships, then my relationships are separate from me. Fear can only exist in the world of duality. In Advaita, because the reality is Advaita, but it has to be understood. Because what happens in modern Vedanta, and that's why we always use these expressions, well contextualized expressions, not out of the blue. Otherwise, you'll go to these circles and you'll talk people, oh, I believe in non-duality. I'm not, everything is non-duality. But then they don't understand how. The understanding is not a very menial task. It's not something that is something you can just understand with a few days of exposure. It's a very steady and growing appreciation. It's not easy to understand, and not just to understanding itself is a big deal. But then even after understanding, to be able to dwell upon it, very, very, um, it takes a lot of blessing to get to that point. And it's a struggle for many, including myself. It's not natural, because when the world around you is dual, when everything around you is separate, to be able to transcend that and still have the vision of the whole is it takes what alertness. One has to be alert to this reality. One has to be open to this reality, and one has to dwell upon this reality. Then it becomes real for us. It is real, but it has to become real, which is very ironic. And what else was there here? you know, this it's very nice, no? Because Advaita Amrita Varshinim. So Advaita, the Amrita, the nectar, Advaita Amrita Varshinim, the shower of Advaita, is presented in the Gita. It is not a drop. There's something called. Has anybody heard of this expression called Lambika Yoga? Lambika Yoga. Um, Khechari Mudra. Somebody Khechari Mudra. So it's an ancient. I'm not deriding it. I'm just stating it as a fact. It's an ancient yogic practice where what they do is, I forget what the scientific term is, but you see this part of the tongue, the one that connects the tongue to the base of the mouth, whatever it's called. There's a, I don't know what it is, tissues or whatever it may be, but there's something that connects the tongue to the base of the mouth. Now, what as per the tantric teachings, and I'm not saying these are not true, there is some reality to it. That at the back of the throat, as you go, because the ears, the nose, and the throat, they're all interconnected. That's why, like, if somebody has a sinus infection, sometimes their ears also get filled up and their throat itches and their nose is full and all. Like, I have like chronic sinusitis, so that's why my nose, I often sound a little muffled because of that issue. But what happens is, you know, at the back of the throat, as one goes towards the nasal cavity, there's a certain spot, like I don't know exactly what you'll call it, but if that gets activated, then it is said that there is some nectar-like substance which will drip from the back of the throat. Has anybody had nasal drip? Very irritating. When the nasal contents sort of drip at the back of the throat and your throat itches. But this is like this amrita, which is very sweet, and it's some fluid that the body produces, and it has to be activated. And then the way to activate it is with the tongue. But for most of us, unless we are dogs, the tongue, and unfortunately, dogs don't have the sense to do it. But if somebody has a long tongue, then they can curl the tongue backwards and push it up the cavity, and start sort of activating that gland, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. But once that is activated, these small drops come. So then, what these khechari in khechari mudra, what you do is you train the tongue and you make it longer and longer and longer. So there are like physical exercises that you'll do, that you'll stick your tongue out, you'll do, you'll do things like that several hours a day, and you'll just like try to extend it and make it longer and longer with practice. And then, if that doesn't work, which mostly doesn't, then you start cutting with a knife or a blade or whatever it is, that portion which connects it to the base of the mouth, so that you can curl it further back, and then you're able to take it to the to whatever you're trying to activate. And so then that is called Lambika Yoga. There's a whole teaching of yoga that's dedicated to it. And it's interesting. I was curious about this a few years back, but the choice of words is very nice over here, because over there those drops of nectar which are supposed to give a lot of vitality to the body, good health, longer life, vitality, stronger, body, all of these things. It was supposed to give. Of course, it cannot give true Amrita. What is true Amrita? Amrita refers to this nectar which gives you immortality. But physical body, sure, maybe you will be free of some diseases. Maybe you'll live a little longer. Maybe you'll live healthier, but that cannot make you immortal, no? Body with so comes, body has to go. Today, even avatars have come and gone. Avatars' bodies will live forever. So, what to speak of us? So, here, this case is Amrita as like drops. Those drops start pouring. But here, the choice of words is shower. The Bhagavad Gita, forget drops. It is a downpour like rain. You can't even count it. It is a total shower. You'll be completely drenched in Amrita. Because the only Amrita that is lasting is the Amrita of Advaita. In fact, there is no other Amrita except Advaita. Advaita is the only Amrita. Everything is an Asdo Amrita. Does this make sense? And why also? Okay, good. So, um, any questions here? Okay. So, I've covered quite a bit of content. Maybe we'll let me see. Where does the next? Okay. So let's complete the first shloka, and before we get to the second one, we can close. If you can read from here.
The three lines are also there. In non duality, there is no second thing. Therefore, with this knowledge, all fear is eliminated. Only in duality can there be fear. Fear cannot exist in non duality because there is no second thing to fear. The nectar of non duality, that you are everything, that there is nothing other than you, is not an ordinary subject matter. This is what is meant by non duality. Non duality means that you are the whole. That which gives you this vision is the nectar of non duality. Nectar is used here because just as nectar is something to be tasted, to be experienced, non duality is something to be understood, to be yourself. The goddess Gita showers the nectar of non duality upon you. This shower of nectar is the vision of non duality. It is the message of the Lord. The Gita is Bhagavati, the goddess, and therefore not separate from Bhagavan's vision. She knows that Krishna is Ishvara, the Lord, and along with him, she blesses you because she gives you this knowledge.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, one nice point I wanted to make here. Last week, Nikita had pinged me, and she was like, "Yeah, I had a question about non-duality." And so I said that, don't wait for it to come in the text. Just you know, ask anytime in between or whenever, at the start or at the end, whatever what is convenient. And the last two classes, we've only been seeing non-duality in one form or the other, and everywhere in the text, suddenly out of the blue. I don't think it's a coincidence personally, because I've seen this happen to me a lot as well. That when I have a question, I usually have a question, and then as I pick up a text of Pujya Swamiji, it gets answered. The question just gets answered. Now, obviously, it's not that if I have a question, somebody is writing that answer in the text for me. because the text is already there, it's already available as an objective reality. So that can't be it. But it's almost like the guru is giving some assurance in some sense that look, you have a question, the question will be answered as part of the teaching, as part of the unfolding. And I've seen that happen like so many times that I can't chalk it up to a simple coincidence. It's happened dozens of times. Question is there, I pick up something of Puja Swamiji and the answer is there, and I don't even know where, which text or whatever. Sometimes it is random. Um, and of course, if there are additional questions, one has to go to the guru to have, even more clarity. So the kinds of questions that I have is okay, chalo, theek hai. This understanding, maybe there's a certain bit of clarity. But then I have to go to the teacher at times to figure out that am I approaching this in the right way, in the efficient way, to make this my teaching, to make this my own reality, as opposed to just something I understand. Because I say from a place of struggle also, that when things don't go particularly well in life and there are certain calamities that you have to face, it could be a financial thing, it could be a planning thing, it could be projects that are inundating you. A lot of things can go wrong, health, family, whatnot. And during those periods, it's not always, in fact it's almost never easy to contemplate upon these teachings. And then, in those moments, my guru has also advised me that, okay, for a while you lay off. You lay off from the study and you deal with these issues as they're supposed to be dealt with. Otherwise, what will happen is you'll build these superficial layers of understanding on top of problems which are not yet taken care of. You have to resolve a few of these issues also. And so the guru knows exactly where you are, in what state you are, what you're thinking, how you're approaching, what is optimal, what is not, what is suboptimal. All of these things the guru is able to guide. And so one should not walk away thinking that, oh, okay, Pujya Swamiji, being this great Mahatma, has written and has spoken so much that I will just pick up these things of Pujya Swamiji and that alone is enough. I would say this is the best starting point. There is no better source of Vedantic teachings except through the talks and the publications of Pujya Swamiji. I say this with complete authority, complete authority. If for whatever my word is worth, it is absolutely true. But on top of that, to be able to connect with a live guru, not a non-live guru. It's a I can't ask Pujya Swamiji questions. As great as this Mahatma is, I can't ask Omkaranandaji questions. As great as the Mahatma is, I need a live physical guru with whom I can relate to whom I can comfortably ask my questions to, and who is available to set my doubts at ease. This relationship is very important, and this is the parampara. This is the blessing of the parampara. So we'll look at the next couple of section or well, just this much from here, and then we'll close off.
The 18 chapters of the Gita. In this verse, the Gita is addressed as the one who has 18 chapters. It is said, O Gita, the one with 18 chapters, I salute you. The Gita as a destroyer of sorrow. The nectar of non duality destroys the bhava, the
Bhava,
samsara,
bhava.
bhava, bhava, the samsara completely. Bhava means a life of becoming with all of its problems and fears, a life of sorrow, bondage, birth, and death. This teaching is therefore the medicine for samsara, that by which the whole samsara is destroyed. The destroyer of samsara and the nectar of non duality go together and refer to the Gita as the mother who destroys the samsara by showering the nectar of non duality. In the first verse, then, we salute the Mother Gita by meditating upon her, by invoking her before we start our study. Also, we cannot think about the Gita without thinking about Vyasa, Krishna, and Arjuna, called Partha in this verse. The second verse, therefore, is addressed by Vyasa.
Very good. Okay, so um, we'll close off on a Shanti mantra, and I guess for the next time I would just suggest, since all of you all have the text, read the commentary on the second verse. Okay, I don't think it will be more than 3 or 4 pages, whatever, or maybe 2, 3 pages, whatever length it is. Just read that so that if there are any questions, you can bring them up, and we'll close off. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namaste.